Well, good day, everyone. Welcome to another museum musing. You've seen Devlan and myself in the past chatting and discussing and debating the things of philately, and we've decided to do something different today. We're excited. This is going to be our first museum musing with a guest. And we are very excited about the guest. We are excited about the fact that this guest is also somebody who has their collections on the Museum of Philately, which is even more exciting. So as we go through our discussion this morning, by all means, afterwards, consult the Museum of Philately and have a look at the collections. But all will be revealed in the next minutes. We have Santpal, and I'm going to try to pronounce your name, but you'll probably laugh when I do. But Santpal Sinchawla.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh wow! Okay, wow. Okay, so I've done
Top
well
marks
with
to
that.
Marcus.
Sorry.
Top marks to Marcus.
Yeah. Well, I can tell. Well, I can tell the story about Devlan. I say Devlan Kruck, and it's not, is it, Devlan?
No, so I keep telling people it's Kruck. Well, it depends how you say truck, of course. You know, if you say Truk and Mook, you can call me Kruk.
So we're delighted to have you on board today.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
All the way from Bangkok, is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. And you've got a lovely wall behind you. Maybe just tell us a quick reason. What is the wall?
Okay. Basically, the wall is something that it's the classic Burma collections that's on the museum, and I like this collection and love this collection so much that I felt that I wanted to be able to see the whole 128 pages whenever I walk into my museum room, which is in the office building.
Fantastic.
So I got high quality, high resolution copies made and made a whole wall out of them.
Wow.
Okay. Wow, that's it. So you're surrounded by your beauties all the time.
Yes. Instead of having them in the wall.
Sorry, as we were chatting earlier, one of the great things about each one of us is we all have a story. And it's the stories not just of our lives, but the stories of the individual stamps or the covers. Each cover can have a story. But really what today is about is to find out more about your story, Santpal, and who you are as a collector, why you're collecting, who you are as a person, and why you in Bangkok, and why do you have a Burma collection. So maybe you can expand on that for us.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll make it as short as possible. It's a long tale, but I'll condense it. I was born in Burma. So I was born in Burma in 1960. And Burma had a big upheaval in 1962 with the socialist movement. And our family moved to Thailand in 1963. So I came here as a 3-year-old boy. I've lived all my life in Thailand. And I started studying in the English medium school here. And quickly my favorite subjects became geography and history.
Wonderful.
So upon seeing that I like geography and history, my mother was already a stamp collector. So at the age of 10, she put this big album into my hands and said that, look, this is a nice hobby. It's a hobby of royalty. Why don't you pursue this? See if you like it. So I was 10 years old. I just looked at the album and shrugged it off. And I said, okay, let me look into this. So then I must have thought about it and toyed with it. And by the time I was 14, 15, I was pretty serious into collecting. And naturally, when you start collecting at a young age, you start buying these stamps from the post offices. So by the time I was 18, I had stamps coming in from 27 post offices around the world. Those used to be the gifts from my father when he used to go to all the countries. So he used to sign me up for these standing orders. So I used to be getting all these stamps in and putting them in albums and all that. increased my interest more and more. Then as time flew by, I started looking at some auctions, and I started seeing that there's more to stamp collecting than just loose stamps. So I delved into auctions and started looking at where I had interest. I met people that were collecting things more seriously. So then I started focusing on Burma and Thailand and India. The thread is that I was born in Burma, I live in Thailand, and I am Indian. I'm a Sikh from the Punjab. So by the time I was 25, 27, I began to have some money. I was working in my dad's business. We are in the gemstone export business. So our business was good. I was back from college. So I started to buy at auctions at the age of 30.
Wow, okay.
I still have the auction catalogs that I bought in 1990, 1988, 92. So these were purchases that I made, and they happened to be Burmese and Indian things. And the prices have really, really gone up for those items. Of course, what I bought for $200 is $2,000, $2,500 in this 30 years span. So I kept this going, and as I developed and started spending more and more time on collecting, I started buying more and more expensive things. And then when I started buying more and more expensive things, it became necessary for me to try to exhibit and win. And I started reading up about exhibitions, which I didn't know anything about. So my first time to exhibit was at the age of 54. So I did collect for quite many years before I started exhibiting. So I'm 61 now, so I've been exhibiting for 7 years at the moment, and I have built up 8 collections that I have put on exhibitions. So, but all revolving around these 3 countries. And the main collection, of course, is the classic Burma collection, which is on the museum. So I very much enjoy this hobby. I have spent a lot of time with this during the pandemic, and it's kept me busy. It's my family sees me very busy. They're happy that I have something to do all the time. A busybody no matter what, whether I'm in or out. Yes. Because there's so much to read and so much to look, and there's so much information out there that I can study. And I have a network of friends all over the world that Santpal, I stay in touch with. Yes.
Is there a thread to do with your family at all in this? You know, the origins of your family in Burma, is there a thread?
Well, then we can go back quite long. Then we have to go back to a village in Pakistan, where we left in 1890.
Okay.
So we went from that village in the Punjab to Burma in 1890, and my family got into the ruby business in Mogok, which is the ruby mine district. So my mother and my grandfather were born in Mogok, which is the ruby town of Burma in northern Burma. So the family was in Burma for 73 years?
Okay.
During that period, a lot of people were born, a lot of cousins, a lot of brothers, my dad, all of these people were born in Burma. My dad was born in Burma. So yes, we were very much involved with the ruby trade in Burma, but nobody was collecting stamps. Stamps was something that only my mother started collecting because she was highly educated, and she was the one who knew that something like stamps exist. So I presume she started collecting because it was quite a bit of stuff when she gave it to me when I was 10. So maybe she started collecting 20, 30 years prior.
Right.
So I think.
So as you've collected things in your collection, is there a desire to find things that link you to your family's history in Burma, whether it's
very much so. All these items, where they are from, and all this matters. This is my birthplace. It's simple. I was born here in Rangoon, and this is the most magnificent six-piece one-on-a ranking on cover. Yeah. This is my life.
Yeah.
It's my birthplace.
Yes, exactly.
Is that a particular favorite of yours, Santpal? That item?
This one is a beauty. This one is one favorite of mine for sure. It's the largest 6-1 on our franking loan. So yes, I do collect with very much interest with the places and areas and the mail going between places that were of historical importance to our family. And that is you've brought this up and it's 100% correct. This is how I piece everything together when I look for things and when I buy. I'm always very interested not only in the stamp part, but also where it's going to whom.
Yeah.
So this part of it, I study myself. The judges usually don't care much about that. But that is something that I'm more interested in. The judges are more interested in the roots and the rates and the markings and how good the condition of the stamps is and how many stamps there are on the cover. Yeah. That's their business. But my business generally is what's written here, to who. So then I go and Google that person.
That's the cover that's going to Ireland, right?
Yes. This is the famous going to Ireland. Yeah, this is the largest.
But before you came on, Santpal, we were just looking at that actual cover. And I said to Marcus jokingly, I bet you wish you had this cover because he's from Ireland.
Because I'm from Ireland.
Right.
Because of course,
okay.
Because of course, my collecting interest is similar to yours in the sense that I'm also interested in the person who sent it and the person who received it. So it's
absolutely
it's fascinating to, in a sense, it's what is social philately, or in a sense, which is, I think, something that, I mean, we're going to talk, maybe get your views on it. What's the future of philately? When we think about philately, yes, it's the study of stamps. Yes, it's the study of the roots and the rates. But just as we're talking today, it's also about the stories, your story, your family's story, in going to Burma, leaving Punjab, going to Burma. We're all immigrants moving around the world. I mean, we all are. And
absolutely.
So you've moved, in a sense, you've moved twice. You went you didn't, but your family went from the Punjab to Burma, and now from Burma to Thailand. So what do you feel? Do you feel Burmese? If you
I think 3 years old is too young an age to feel anything from where you leave. So I don't know one word of Burmese.
Right. Okay.
The only thing that's Burmese that is about me is that my birthplace is in Myanmar on the passport. That's all. I have a Thai passport.
Yes.
And that's the only connection I have in a legal way with Burma. That's my birthplace. That I cannot change.
Yes.
And I do have my dad. My dad was a collector of many things. He didn't collect stamps. He used to collect all family documents.
Oh, okay.
So I do have my birth certificate stating that I was born in which hospital in Rangoon. That I do have.
Yes.
So he gave me a lot of his old family documents that I have, and that proves that where I'm from. And he gave me his old passport proving that he was born in a small town in Upper Burma in 1930.
Yes.
So all these things he handed over to me.
Well, as you I mean, obviously, we've mentioned the possibility to go on to the Museum of Philately and see your exhibits, and there's some fantastic pieces. But is there one item, maybe not necessarily a valuable item, but is there an item that excites you the most? Something that
well, I like the early covers. The ones that I like are normally the pre-stamp.
Oh, right. Okay.
The pre-stamp covers don't hold as much value as the stamped ones for obvious reasons that there was no stamps on them, but they tell a very poignant story because the writing and the places they were sent from, and it was very, like, for instance, something that I admire and I like very much is this first letter from Burma, 1817. Now, this tells me a story. This is a missionary. It tells me that the missionaries were already operating in Burma in 1817. They were busy. They were converting the locals into Christianity. So I have history in my hands.
Yes.
I don't need to go to the history book.
Yes. Wonderful.
I already know it.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, and of course it's real history, isn't it, Santpal? Because often history is written by certain people with a certain slant. You've got in your hands what really happened. Yeah, you've got a slice of history.
So what interests me quite a bit and more than the stamps itself is these campaign letters, these first British Army taking over in 1825. I don't have to go to the history book.
Yes.
I have it right in my hands. I had the letter from the general. from the soldier who was taking part in the First Burmese War.
Yes.
So these things I hold very dear and I like, but these, of course, are not the more valuable items, understood, but they are the letters that go, and I kind of like the pre-stamp material quite a bit. I have a nice pre-stamp collection of India also, dating from 1772, but knowing India as a vast collecting place, you cannot get a big medal with even a decent collection because there are so many major collections out there with this pre-stamp material. There's so much material out there. I like to hold history in my hands.
Yes.
I like to hold history in my hands, and the only way I can do it is with these morsels of history that are called letters and stamps, and that's what excites me.
Well, I think in a way what we've got to challenge people, and that's what we've been chatting about this in various different musings that we've had over the last few months, is that yes, spending a lot of money on a rare piece is exciting, but what's interesting, and I'm right with you on this, is that you can have something that has of little philatelic value but has tremendous historic value and also historic interest. So you can write a story about what the person who wrote the letter or the person who received the letter, and that, in a sense, in my opinion, adds value to that piece. Whatever one says, and I would sort of venture that we may move more into that area going forward. Yes, the great classic stamps, the 4-anna inverted head and so on will always be the great things that people want. But at the same time, I do think that the future of philately is going to be more and more in things that we can relate to, and especially to new collectors coming on board.
Absolutely.
Have a hard time understanding what we would call fly speck philately, where you're looking at the detail. And actually, we really want to pull people in and explain the story of the history of Burma and so on and so forth.
So my view on this is that it has to be a proper balance, because we need to collect things with value. We are looking at it as a somewhat of an investment too, for sure. So one would not mind to have an item, if one can afford it, an item like this which is north of $50,000.
Yes.
And one can also have a letter that is 1817 first letter, which may fetch only $5,000. Yeah. But this may be equally rare.
Yes,
so I think
equally rare, but perhaps more, in some ways, can be more interesting.
Correct. So I think what happens is we philatelists, we pay for things that we desire.
Yes.
And then when more than one person desires the same thing is when prices go up.
Yes.
These big multiples have been desired by collectors for a long, long time. It's not new.
Yes.
This item was desired even 35 years ago at auction.
Yes.
People wanted this then even. Okay, it was $5,000 then. It was not 50, 60, but it still was $5,000 35 years ago.
Yes.
So I guess philatelists all over the collecting history, from what I read, even I look at auction catalogs from all the countries. So my interest is so much, I collect only my area, but I'm very interested in the stamps of the US. Every time Siegel Auctions comes, I get their catalog and I see those items going for fantastic prices, because I know America is a very wealthy country and their multiples go for donkey money.
Yes.
And that is for sure. So I have an interest in every aspect of philately. I look at the Swiss stamps, I look at the US. I don't collect them, I don't buy them, but I understand them. But I stick with my area because I enjoy this area much more. So I keep building up different collections. Like I built up a pre-stamp collection. I built up a De La Rue Indian collection. Now I'm very busy with collecting postcards, used postcards. I think that's called detiology, collecting postcards. There's another name for that hobby.
Yes, you've got me on that. I mean, I'm a postcard collector, but I didn't know there was a name for it. Wow.
Yeah, now they have they've started a class in FIP,
okay,
and I have started exhibiting my postcards.
Wow,
fantastic.
With postcards, I only collect the rare postally used postcards.
Right.
So my postcard has to be to a destination with stamps. It has to have an arrival, a departure, and maybe taking a different hard route, and being a very beautiful condition with the beautiful thing on the top, like Thailand temples of 1900.
Yeah.
So that in 1900, the first tourists started coming here, and they started sending postcards back home. That fascinated me. They were saying that, okay, Thailand has these beautiful temples, and which people are coming here 120 years later for them, same thing. But those postcards, if they're sent to Antwerp and if they were rerouted with a tax mark on it, not enough postage, they become suddenly quite rare.
Yeah.
And I feel that the price is underrated in the market right now. They're going for $500, $300, $600. I'll buy it.
Yes.
So I collected one, made one collection, exhibited it, 80 pages, 5 frames. And I got a silver medal, which I'm pleased with.
Yeah.
It's okay. You don't always get a large gold.
Yeah, absolutely.
Large gold is not...
Well, Santpal, as we wrap up, because, you know, as we said, the time goes by so quickly in these things. As we wrap up, and Devlan, do you have a last question?
Well, just on that, I mean, on the museum, we've got two collections of yours, which people are going to go have a look at if they haven't done already, and they're highly decorated. But you've mentioned that you've got other collections. I mean, what are your aspirations for the future, Santpal, with exhibiting? What are you sort of chasing at the moment?
I'm a serial collector. I can't stop. So even though that I've got the Grand Prix, I haven't stopped. I'm not thinking of selling.
Yes.
I enjoy this stuff so much that I'm just waiting and enjoying it and building new collections and reading, and it's fascinating, this hobby. Everybody should get into this one. It's really, really keeps you busy, keeps you satisfied, keeps you out of trouble. It's just amazing. So I'm in pandemic. It was the easiest thing for me to go through because I had something to lean on.
Yes.
So many of my friends were falling off the cliff. Nothing to do.
Yes.
I wrote up literally 4 collections during this pandemic.
Wow.
4.
Fantastic.
That's brilliant.
4 or 5 frame exhibitable collections. But because there's no exhibitions, I have not been able to exhibit anything. So yeah, so that's
so what's the next collection you're going to be wanting to put together?
Well, now I'm very interested. I'm doing quite a bit with airmails now.
Okay.
I'm very interested in the airmails of India, airmails of Siam, airmails of Burma. This was a quite left out part of collecting. That there are some collections out there, but not many.
Yes.
Like the first collection, first postal airmails of Thailand, very interesting. They were all domestic flights going inside of Thailand. It started only in 1920. And India, of course, has the first aerial mail of the world, 1911.
Yeah, yeah.
So India was quite an important part for aerial mail and that. So I built up a collection of Indian airmails, which I got a large silver for.
Okay, great.
And I have built up a collection of Siam airmails, which has not yet been exhibited, but I also think it'll get a large silver.
Fantastic.
So 2 collections. Airmails has been my interest. Postcards has been my new interest. So if one goes into philately and if one is interested, one can quite quickly wade one's way around and find things that one is interested in. I would recommend that anybody who's starting to collect or wants to collect is that go into it, bask in there for a while, let it sink in slowly, and then study where your heart takes you. Follow the flow of your heart, look at the items, and then look at your pocket.
Yes.
How much you have to spend, and then you slowly build up the collection. Brilliant. That's my thoughts about this hobby.
Well, that's a great way to end, isn't it?
Santpal, that's a great as Devlan said, it's a great way to end, and we just want to thank you once again for your enthusiasm.
I'm very glad.
You know, for me, it's watch this space. I'm sure we may well be telling people about other collections of yours that we will have on the museum. So I think it's watch this space. and watch out for Santpal's name. And I'm sure if I said this, you wouldn't mind, Santpal. If you see Santpal at an exhibition, please go up and say hello, and
Sure.
ask him to show you his collection. And we hope, and Santpal, we hope to see you physically at the next available show. I mean, there's a Stamp Expo coming up now in September.
I'm waiting to get onto a plane.
Yes.
I haven't been on a plane in 17 months.
Yes, exactly. Well, thank you, Santpal, for
thanks very much.
For your
Thank you. It was excellent.
And,
thank you very much.
We'll continue to keep in touch.
Sure.
Thank you, Santpal.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.